Movie starts with a lady called Mia, who was practicing horse riding. Now she returned home and approached to her husband to spend some time, but her husband was asleep, which made her sad. Starts roaming in the house. Suddenly she saw a mail from a woman in her husband's computer. Mia opened it to know, and when she opened it she saw a picture where 14K was written in somebody's hand, which was weird. Mia's husband was an investor and the came from her name was Isabelle, who was a doctor. Then suddenly camera was zoomed on a container, but why, it's not have shown. Now the scene is on Mia's husband. His name was Thomas and he was watching a TV interview which was of Dr. Isabelle. In this interview she was talking about her new experiment which was on the way to a great success. Dr. Isabelle was promising that she can turn any old man into a young man through her experiment, which was a secret. This experiment was only for men, not for women. After watching this interview, Thomas called Isabelle to come home. Mia was doing jogging and she was going towards home. He crushed with a lady Micah who was her neighbor. Then Dr. Isabelle reached there. Mia introduced Isabelle with Micah. From the conversation, it is known that Micah was a foreigner and she didn't have any legal documents like visa or passport. While they were talking, Isabelle plucked some hair from Micah's head. Then they reached to Thomas. Thomas and Isabelle were talking. Thomas was investing his money in Isabelle's experiment, but Thomas didn't wanted to reveal the experiment so earlier because Thomas still had doubt on the experiment. But Isabelle said, "We have to bring this experiment as fast as possible in front of the world, neither someone else will start this experiment." Then she showed some photos of some men, where she showed that a man was old but he was young after the experiment. She told, "I have full belief on my experiment." Now a night scene starts. Mia wore a gorgeous dress and tried to attract her husband Thomas, but he was not responding to it. From the conversation it is clear that Thomas couldn't make Mia pregnant because he had some problems. Mia was sad and left the room. Meanwhile her neighbor Micah was coming from somewhere and someone was following her. He beat her and two men tried to take her on van. But when she got opportunity she pulled off the van, but they caught her again. Now scene shifted to Isabelle. An old man came to meet her. He came to do the treatment of being young. But doctor took a lot money in advance and signed an agreement which conveyed that the man couldn't leak and tell any information regarding the treatment. The man signed the agreement. Then doctor asked for blood sample and semen sample, so then he started asking many questions, so Isabelle disagreed to do the treatment. The next scene we see Thomas and Mia together. Mia was asking about Isabelle's experiment. She was asking, does she really know any such treatment? Thomas replied, yes, because Isabelle is very old but she still looks young. They were talking to each other. Suddenly someone beating the door very hard. When Mia opened the door there was her neighbor Micah, who was very ill, and she started explaining the matter happened with Micah last night. Mia asked to do a police complaint but Micah disagreed because she was in that country without any documents. But suddenly Thomas saw a sign in her hand which was exactly like the photo came on mail. From Thomas' expression it was kind of clear that he knew who did it, and immediately he hid in a place called someone. Then he came to them and told Micah, let's go to hospital. Mia stayed at home and Micah went with him. It was a really long time but there was no information about Micah nor Thomas. Mia felt tense, so she called hospital and she got to know that there was no such patient called Micah. Mia started tracking Thomas's location and she got to know that his car was in front of old closed factory. Mia went for the place. Next we see Thomas, who was inside that closed factory and took Micah with him where Dr. Isabelle was doing her experiments. Thomas got to know that Isabelle was doing this experiment illegally, so he asked to close the experiment, and he also said, I will not invest money in this experiment anymore. Then Isabelle showed a photo to Thomas. After watching that he was shocked and left the place. After he left the place Mia reached the factory. She was watching the place carefully and she saw a room where a lady was shouting and a man was giving continuous electric shock to the lady. Suddenly a man caught Mia from behind, whose name was Dog. Dog was very cruel and he hated women and he enjoyed giving pain to them. Then Dog pushed Mia into a room and asked her to change her dress even in front of him. Mia was very afraid and she started changing her clothes in front of him. Then he tied Mia and he did a logo in her hand with a hot iron rod as it was found on Mika's hand. Dog worked for Dr. Isabelle. Mia was feeling lots of pain because of the burn. Dog peed on Mia, which was a really dirty action. Thomas also returned to the place because he got to know that Mia came here. Then he asked Dog to let him meet his wife, but Dog disagreed. Later Isabelle gave permission and Thomas met Mia. But she was really angry and she was not getting anything. So first she asked for the meaning of 14K, which she saw first on that mail. So Thomas replied, once in a hotel Isabelle was with me and she met me with a lady, and when I spent time and went to her room, I didn't remember anything after that because I was senseless. Then next day, when I opened my eyes, I saw that the lady died whom I may have killed when I was drunk. Isabelle removed me from that harsh condition, and then she told me about that experiment, and she told that we can earn a lot money from it. But for this a huge amount of money was needed. And by remembering the death of that girl, she used to take money from me, and I couldn't refuse because I had no way. But Thomas didn't know what exactly Isabelle did. Then we see Micah, who was trying to run away, but then Isabelle's men killed her and put her in a container, which finished her body completely. Now we see that man who came for surgery earlier. But he was ready for the treatment. But Isabelle charged more money than earlier, and the man agreed. Now we see Isabelle with Thomas, and she is asking him to leave his wife. But he did this, then Mia could inform police. So Isabelle told him to kill her lest they couldn't be successful. She told him, "Think how rich we can be from this experiment." She also told, "I also want to be young, but my DNA doesn't match with anybody." Then Thomas decided to kill his wife, but instead of killing her he ran away with her, but Dog caught them. Then Dog himself took Mia to kill, but Isabelle asked him to bring her because Mia's body is perfect for Isabelle because their DNA matched. Then Isabelle made Mia pregnant artificially, which was painful. Then Mia was locked to a room where many more ladies were there who were also pregnant and kidnapped. There was also that lady whom Thomas said that he killed, which means Isabelle tricked Thomas with a false murder. Now we see a lady there whose teeth were causing pain. Then Dog came and removed her teeth in an inhuman way. He stapled her mouth so that she could not shout. Mia was feeling so bad watching these. Then that lady started to say bad things to Dog, and Dog beat her brutally. Then the condition of that lady was very worse. Then Isabelle came and did delivery of that pregnant woman and took the baby with her. Now we see Mia who did toilet in that place, so Dog beat her very hard. But Mia was smart enough, she took his knife and tried to kill Dog. Now Dog became more angry and tried to beat Mia very hard. Then other women also came to help her, which made Dog very weak. They took the keys from Dog and all women left the room. They tried to find the baby just delivered. But when they tried to find, they saw a container. When they opened the container, they saw so many dead babies there. They were thrown as waste because Isabelle used client's semen sample to pregnant the woman. When the baby born, she used baby's body parts to make young, which was an illegal work, but it was unknown to Thomas. After watching the babies, all the women were very angry. They started searching and they reached to Isabelle. In Isabelle's hand that newborn baby was there. That lady snatched the baby from Isabelle, and Isabelle's men came to that place, but these women also killed that man. Now we see that Isabelle was running from that place, but Mia saw her and followed her. But Dog came to kill Mia, but Mia tried to hide in a cupboard. Then Thomas came and started to fight with Dog, but Dog started to press Thomas's face with a wire which was peeling his skin. But to save him, Mia gave Dog electric shock and tried to check her husband, but her husband was in very bad condition. Now we see Isabelle who was running with some samples, but all women caught her and beat her very hard and kill her. Then they caught Dog and everyone started torturing him as he used to do with them. Then he died. Then all women were rescued. At last we see Mia's baby in her hand, and here the movie ends. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video if you enjoy it, and also subscribe the channel for upcoming videos. Thanks again, I really appreciate your time.